How much money do you make from organic social media? These days, you can post content on a free social media account and get millions or even billions of eyeballs on that content. But how do you turn those eyeballs into cash? That's what we're going to talk about today with Cardinal Mason. In less than 2 years, Mason has made nearly $5 million from organic social media alone. So whether you've never made a dollar online, or you're an established business with existing products and services, or you're a content creator or someone trying to grow their personal brand and you just like to get paid while your audience grows, today we're going to get into the best way to get views and turn those views into cash. Mason, welcome to the show. My first question for you, my guy, is what's just like the broadest general advice you have for anybody who's looking to turn organic social media into something that generates real income or for them or revenue for their business?
It has to match with whatever you're selling. It has to be relevant. It has to be useful to every mass market. I think a lot of people make the mistake of like trying to go way too niche. And this is what comes to like SEO agency owners who are like, I'm going to make content on TikTok to grow my agency. I just don't think it works that way. I think that it really, if you're going to get if you're trying to get a lot of views and make a lot of money, it makes sense to, talk about something that kind of applies to everyone. And in my case, earning a side income or earning even a full-time income, if you really want to dedicate it to that, that's a pretty sexy thing to talk about to millions of people. It's not something that anyone can do. I want to add that in there where it's like, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to watch this and be like, all right, I'm just going to start making TikToks and all of a sudden I'm just going to sell something. People already have.
Wait, that's not how it works. Okay. I make some TikToks and I make the money. Something that is different about organic social media that I've noticed is broad gets views. So keeping the topic and content like really broad and having it appeal to a lot of people is what gets more views. And what we've been taught in business for a long time is that there's riches and niches. So it's sort of like counterintuitive. It's actually easier if your product is a little more broad on socials, or you have to be able to take a broad topic and narrow it like to your product, which is maybe a little bit harder. You know what I mean?
I have a pretty good look at like who my audience is, especially people that like book calls. We're from all over the place, bro. We have people who are, 18 to 21 and they're in college and they're like an English student. We also have people that are in that same age demo and they're, computer science students. We also have people who never went to college and they work construction. We also have people who are single moms. We also have people happily married moms who like are just like bored because they're, they're staying home and they just want to make some extra money on the side. We also have people like who are in their 60s, you know what I mean? Like we'd be missing out on a whole lot of money if we tried to niche down on one particular thing, and it just doesn't make sense because the program works for everybody. One thing I will say is like you're always going to attract a certain type of people just based on how you talk. So like the thing with a personal brand and the thing with like monetizing content is like no matter what, there are just certain types of people that are attracted to me as a creator. And like with another type of brand, you can have different actors or whatever sub in and be like, all right, this is a supplement that we have for, women over 50. And then some dude who looks like us be like, here's a supplement for dudes, under 40 or something. You know what I mean? Like you can have different people kind of sell the same thing in different ways, but like I'm just here is like, if you want to learn copywriting from me, you can do that from me.
I liked how you felt out 40 there. You're like, dude's under, and then you looked at me, you're like, I feel 40.
30.
40 feels safe. I think 40 is good. If you were to set 30, it'd have been wrong. And I think you were like, let me go 40 on that. To your point, I think health, wealth, and relationships are universal. They're like human things that everybody wants. So I think even if you already have existing products, tying it to health, wealth, and relationships, if you can, as much as you can without it being like corny, is probably the move. Let's talk about like the people who just never really made a dollar online. They want a side income or they want like just kind of to get like improve their situation or whatever. How are those people like, what are they doing to sort of utilize social media to like elevate where they are?
My thing with like, I never really used social media at the beginning. I think like you have no leverage and you have no real skills. I think like if you're going to use social media at all, I think like the best thing is like, if you have no money, just spin up a service like copywriting or sales or UGC or something, like agency service, whatever. And then just go direct one-on-one, like use social media to reach out to people. And if you have content on your page and you have a bit of an audience, that's perfect. But like there's different strategies for like how big your audience. Like if you have 0 people in your audience, go 1-to-1, like basically just pitching. Uh, if you have like a few hundred or even a few thousand followers, like any like mass market stuff, just trying like book calls and like set your own deals. Like just DM me whatever word and then try and get people on the calendar, like sort of like one-on-one consulting. And then if you have a really big audience, you can do webinars or something like that. If you have a bigger audience than that, then you can have like some sort of like super low ticket, like $20-$30 a month thing.
Yeah. Let me back up a little bit, because I think like maybe let's hit your story really quick, because I think something that is important that you glazed over is you're like, well, I don't know if you really should be selling anything if you don't actually have any skills.
I came in sort of to the space, the make money online space early, where like there wasn't really a ton of resources, not on YouTube or Twitter or anything like that.
Yeah.
I do a lot of digging myself. I found copywriting. It seemed like a cool option. It was something that I was already kind of good at. I could write. Like I was in a writing heavy major in university, so it was really easy for me to sort of like pick it up and learn how to sell with that skill.
Right.
During COVID, I ended up just doing a bunch of outreach because I was so bored. I wasn't working. I had no school. There's nothing else for me to do. I was just stuck in my house. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to slam out as many cold emails a day as I possibly can. Ended up building a smallish portfolio of clients, including I guess like a W-2, I guess, with you. It's structured.
Yeah. You actually didn't just like got a job doing the skill. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still freelanced a ton on the side, and I ended up, my expectation was like, I just want to replace my income, from my serving job, which was like $3,000 a month. And I hit that right away. And then I was like, all right, let's go for 10. And then once I hit 10, I had this problem where it was like every single time I like hit a new high with my business, I was like, well, if I lose a client, then I go under. So I have to have like an insurance client, just a backup client, just in case like I lose one, and then I still have that income number that I'm comfortable at. And that just kept adjusting with every like backup client that I got. And so I got myself all the way up to, at my peak, 48 grand in a month with only copywriting.
You've sort of said this before on some content that you've made on like IG or TikTok, where you're like, look, it's really simple. Like, learn a skill like sales or copywriting. Learn a skill that makes businesses money. Offer it to them for a price. Make them more money than they pay you, and they will remain a client. And then like do that over and over. And I think maybe there's a frowned upon thing there where people are like, you're trading your time for money, but you're trading your time for like really good money. And that's what you need early on, is that you're like, you just need the skills and empowerment to get yourself out of serving, making $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month. Like, you need an excess of cash, like way beyond what your means are. And then you can start to deploy that cash to do other stuff that maybe doesn't take your time. But I think that's like, if you're at square zero and you're someone who's never made $1 online, that, in my opinion, is the easiest way.
I mean, if you're starting and you have like no money and only time, seems like the best way is to just like use your time. Like,
right.
People complain about like trading time for money, but it's like, you don't have anything else. You know what I mean? Like, what are you to trade? You're like, your belongings, trade your belongings for money. Yeah, sure. Sell your TV and your couch, and then just like, sleep on a mattress on the floor.
Yeah.
So, like, you have nothing else. Trade your time. That's how you build up money.
I want to switch gears here and talk about established businesses, because I think one of the struggles established businesses have with social media is they don't actually know how to use it to get any kind of meaningful revenue from it. What do you see all these brands just like not really doing right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, and this is true for, brand like D2C brands or B2B or even personal brands, kind of like I have. Like, people sometimes forget that you have to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of go content first instead of like product first and then content. Cause like, dude, there's some times where like, if I'm down bad and I need sales or something like that, I can do a direct promo on TikTok. Where it's like, hey, I have this thing.
I'm doing this live training. Yeah.
Something like that, right? Like, I'm being way more direct and I'm selling hard, but like, it's not entertaining for people to watch me just sell them. There was a week where I went viral twice in 1 week. And because it was content first, like, we got way more sales on the Webby than we would have if I had just, been directly promoting. And so like, someone I think does this really well is, you know who Vucom is?
The brand Vucom?
He's a guy. His name's Tyler.
Okay. Yeah.
I talked about him before. He's like this backpack watch dealer in New York. Um,
Yeah.
his buddy just films him walking around, just doing transactions, like just selling watches. He has like a watch like WhatsApp or Discord or Telegram or something like that where he just sells watches in the thing, and he probably makes way more money than all of his other counterparts who have been doing this for 30 years longer than him because he's like my age. This guy. Because he's just content first. I love watching these videos because they're so entertaining. Watching him like run around New York in the Diamond District, just slinging Datejust, like that's cool to me.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think I asked earlier on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, like what brands do organic social really well. I can tag someone who I know that's an organic social media manager and is pretty plugged in. No response, dude. I can think of one brand, and I can think of two brands. One is Red Bull. That's not an accessible brand for like 99% of people out here. Like, you know what I mean? Like Red Bull's huge at this point. They do it really well though. Obviously it's a lot of like big stunts. That's what their socials are. They're not, I mean, the people are wearing Red Bull stuff, sure, but they're not talking about what's in the product or the fact that it gives you energy or anything like that. They're like, hey, could we jump out of a spaceship? We should do that. That sounds like it would get views. The other one's Liquid Death, and Liquid Death does happen to incorporate the product, but they just think of like funny skits they can do with water, and then they use the product as the water. Honestly, I think that's the model. And I don't know, maybe a lot of organic social media manager type people don't agree with me, but I get driven crazy by all of these e-commerce and D2C brands that have an Instagram wall that is a bunch of pretty product shots. And that's like all that's on their wall. I'm like, what is this doing for you really? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, like, can you blame him though? Like,
it's safe. It's safe, right?
Yeah, like, and it's also just what everyone else is doing.
Right.
Like Olipop. That's probably what their Instagram looks like. They're crushing. They're doing, however many hundreds of millions a year. Like, I'm just gonna do what Olipop's doing, and hopefully I get to retail.
Here's what happened: is a bunch of e-commerce brands came up in the era where you could really arbitrage ads, right? You could spend $1 on Facebook and get $3 or $4 back. You can't do that anymore. And so, what did they need that thing to be? They just kind of needed it to be like a portfolio, right? So if anyone clicks through their profile, they go there and they'd be like, okay, yeah, this looks legit, and they got a bunch of pictures of their product. That's nice. But if you actually want to get money, drive revenue from organic social media, you can't just be like posting your product all the time. You have to be like, what will get views? And then maybe sometimes we'll plug product. And if we can integrate product into what will get views, great. But let's start with what will get views and work from there.
Do you know Sanucci?
Sanucci?
Yeah.
I don't know them.
Jewelry brand, UK based. Fred Buckley is the mastermind behind. And bro, I don't know if this actually grows the brand. I think like it's like meme format, but it's different. You know what I mean? Like it's okay, so it's stuff like this. I don't know if you can read this, but he posts IG conversations. It's like people that are in the DMs like begging, like, bro, please send me a free chain. Like your stuff's so fire, like please, please, please. And they're like, and it's like actually like kind of funny. It doesn't look like corny or whatever. And the founder will just like screenshot and be like, bro, someone give this guy some water or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's funny. And then everyone's like, wait, like how are these chains good? And then they go on the site and then they're like, oh, actually this kind of does look cool. I have like a bunch. I think that's like a good example of something that's like, because it's relevant and it is kind of content first. And like, it could be about anything. It doesn't have to be about chains. It's kind of like, I feel like another brand could do that.
Yeah.
And they could manufacture it and make it, look
well, getting views on social media is a different core skill set than most companies hire for. They need to be either hiring outsourcing or hiring for the core skill set of somebody who's going to think like, what's going to get views, whatever the platform is, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, what's going to get views. And then we'll work backwards into the product. Like if we can integrate it, great. If we can't integrate it, fine. But like that's a creative thought process of researching what will get views and then being like, all right, how do I integrate our product into this without making it not good anymore?
Strawberry Milk Mob. She's just a pretty girl that is on TikTok and like, dude, sometimes I forget that she has like a brand because like most of her content is like reason number 233 why I love men, because they, they'll like burst their car and like do that thing and like You know what I mean? Like just random stuff like that. And she's gotten a bunch of followers from that. And honestly, like one hack is like if you have a bunch of followers and you consistently get a lot of views, even if you post a video that's like not really good, like you're still gonna get like a couple 100K just because people know you, and it's just gonna get pushed because like you have a history of like being able to make good content. And so like that is like her model where it's like she just goes viral so often because she's just like saying funny stuff that other women agree with, and she also sells swimsuits.
Yeah. That's, I mean, it's like I'm a media personality, or I'm a content creator, or I mean, I think a lot of brands, if they do want organic social to be a big part of it, what they should think is like, we're a media company that happens to sell blank. That's what Liquid Death employs a full-time comedian. There's a comedian who works there. His job is to be comedian. And like that's how seriously they take it. They think of themselves as a media company, like a media company would hire a comedy writer for a show. That's what they've done. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that if you really want organic social to work for you, if you're a company, a brand, B2B, B2C, SaaS, whatever, that's how you have to think about it. And it doesn't have to be funny and entertaining. I think in consumer stuff, apparel, like business to consumer type stuff, funny and entertaining is probably the easiest way to get mass views. But it can be informative, it can be educational, it can be inspirational.
Let me just say before you move on, like I feel like, and chime in if you disagree, but I feel like there's really only two ways you can go with like really engaging content. It has to be either like funny or like really heartfelt. Other than that, people don't really feel it. You know what I mean? Like it has to be something where it like really, really pulls at your emotions, or it's just hilarious. You know what I mean? Like this fitness guy I was talking about is hilarious. He's just funny to watch. Like he's just super high, just from 0 seconds to 60 seconds, the entire video, he's like making noise, doing hand motions, stuff like that. And then you also have people where it's like an old dude who's like 85 and he's like, my daughter died, 25 years ago, and I started this brand in her name kind of thing. It's just like, oh my God, I want to support this old man.
Extreme emotions, right? Making people laugh, making people feel, emotional in some way. That's what makes content memorable. That's what makes people watch the whole thing, send it to other people, and that's what gets views. And the product doesn't necessarily always have to be like perfectly integrated. But I think funny is a good place to start if you're a brand, especially if you're a mass market brand. I want to switch gears to creators because I think, and I'm going to use brands to sort of bridge there. So like, I think another thing brands can do, you brought up Strawberry Milk Mob. She's an individual creator who has a brand, and probably most of the brand sales come through like people seeing her content. And I think that's another thing brands can do, even if they don't have a creator founder. Like I think that brands can start to hire internal creators to actually just build their personal brands, because it's like they feel like they have more freedom to create content that just gets views when it's their own personal pages. So I think that's that's an opportunity for both brands and creators to monetize better while they're trying to grow a following. But that's the thing I want to switch gears to is talk about creators a little bit, because I think, if you're a beauty Instagrammer, or a beauty blogger Instagrammer, or if you're just trying to grow a podcast, a comedy podcast or something like that, I feel like a lot of them they're trying to get views and they're optimizing for views. But the struggle is that they're like not making any money doing it. So they don't really have very much time to put into it. And it's not really going to pay dividends for them until it gets really huge in terms of viewership.
I don't know. We kind of touched on this at the beginning, but like not everyone can do it. That's why the people who like do end up really doing it make millions and millions, because like there's a barrier to entry. Like you have to kind of build everything correctly. And it's also like, it also depends on your audience. Like, dude, I'm already sort of on the edge of like what people consider acceptable for me to sell. Like, I don't get called a scammer, but a lot of people like will watch my videos and be like, oh, this guy's just like a helpful content creator. Yeah. And then they'll think in my bio and be like, oh, never mind, he has a course. You know what I mean? And then they'll get turned off.
To be fair, you get called a scammer sometimes.
I mean, I don't really consider it legit unless someone like you was calling me a scammer.
Right. No, I don't think anybody legit would call you a scammer.
I'd have to look in the mirror and be like, I might be.
What am I called? Am I a scammer? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would just lean into it.
Yeah. Then just go full Ty Lopez with it, just sling whatever.
I'd be in my garage.
Yeah,
But
yeah, with getting knowledge from books. Yeah.
oh yeah. I pretend to read books too.
But yeah, no, I think to your point, I think what you did is interesting, right? Because you started out not necessarily thinking of social media as the way you were going to make money. You thought of like a skill set as the way you were going to make money, and maybe even sort of a product or a service offering. And then you realized social media was a good way to distribute that. So you almost started like business first, whereas a lot of creators are very much starting like views first. And I think chasing that dragon oftentimes leads you to a place where you're like, I mean, I know, and you probably know people who have 1 million TikTok followers and get millions of views on their videos who make very little money as a creator because they're just like videos meant to go viral on the platform, but they don't really map to anything that anyone would want.
I actually remember like when I first started, like, I want to say going viral, like this is probably about a year and a bit ago. Like last November was like my heyday, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like that was when I could post anything and we get 500,000 views.
Yeah.
And there was this guy that reached out to me that I knew very well. He was like a longtime creator that I'd seen all over. Like he was viral enough where he would get reposted by like big meme pages just because his stuff was funny. I thought I was like, this guy must have been printing. And he reached out to me and said like, dude, like, should I do copywriting? And I was like, no, like, what are you talking about? Do copywriting.
You should do what you're doing. Are you making a lot of money? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, you have an audience. Like this is an asset. Like you can use this in some way. And so like, we kind of tried to brainstorm a way for him to like monetize it. And like, I can't remember exactly what I told him. I think I said like, dude, you have the social proof, like partner with a content agency or an influencer marketing agency and like use your reach to reach out to other influencers that can actually provide value for brands or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's actually the leverage point. Like if you've been able to grow a following, and that will get you indoors, honestly. This concept we talked about with businesses where they optimize for just like showing the product and it gets no views, you can teach them or, show them like how to have the right mindset of optimizing for views. So I really think that's the route if you've built an audience where you can't be audience funded, right? Where the audience isn't really going to buy anything from you. Then you got to leverage the audience to go and get in other doors that are going to like be the monetization vehicle,
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, like it really does make the most sense to sell to the audience. Like that's really the best thing to do.
How can you align like your product with like audience with content, right? So how can you like create a line there where you're like, oh, if I sell or package the product or the thing that I'm selling in this way, it will actually make it really easy to make great content that gets a lot of views, and that content will attract the right kind of audience that will buy this product. Like that's, I think, the ideal for anyone anyway. Some people are just like not in that position. They've already started down some other road, but I would try and make pivots to get to that point if I could. If not, then you're gonna have to kind of do some of the sort of alternatives we talk about. That's the pod, Mason. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Do your plug. You got a handle? What do you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this is all business owners. So
mostly, yeah, some content creators, just different. We kind of the buckets we covered actually. So yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, this is more directed to business owners. Like I have my program that I do B2C for copywriters, teaching them how to write. In the last 9 months, I've garnered some killers who are really, really solid and talented and are doing well, but we want to provide more opportunities for them. We will connect you to a copywriter for free. Like I know some like sales recruiting agencies will like charge you a fee or whatever. We have no fees. The fees are covered by the students because they've paid us to teach them. If anyone needs a copywriter, we will connect you to someone who is super accurate. We have hundreds. So we'll just find someone exactly what you're looking for free. Whatever you pay them is up to you and them. That's, whatever. But if anyone wants a copywriter, on Twitter at Cardinal Mason, my pinned tweet is that.
Nice. Okay.
I'm not gonna sell anything here.
I think you're at Cardinal Mason or at Cardinal Mace on most platforms. You look for the dude who's got like 450K on TikTok, I think 60K on Instagram, 60K on Twitter, right?
something like that.
I was just doing it. Like I was just looking before this, like at your content. So I'm not creeping like that on you. I just happened to be recently looking. So yeah, give them a follow. Content is good everywhere. Everywhere you post, you're posting good stuff. So I appreciate you taking some time with me, man.